Good morning again. We're covering wire fraud and 18 U.S. Code 1343, fraud by wire, radio, or television. I just read what it was, and the definition of scheme or artificery fraud. For the purpose of this chapter, the term scheme or artificery fraud includes a scheme or artifice to deprive another of intangible right of honest services. That's what they're trying to do when they're claiming they're representing me, see? And they're violating my Sixth Amendment right to represent myself, in my opinion. So, that's partially it. And the other part is the blocking of my media. The intangible right of honest news services. You see, that's another reason why I say don't watch the news until they straighten up and fly right. Because they're still blocking my media and hiding things from me. What are they hiding? I don't know. You be the judge. All because some bozo says I don't get nothing. Why? I say that's wire fraud. Here, in legal terms, wire fraud, according to Mr. Google, is a criminal offense involving the use of electronic communications such as telephone, internet, or other electronic systems to carry out a scheme intended to defraud someone of money, property, or honest services. It's a federal crime prosecuted under 18 U.S. Code 1343. A scheme to defraud, key elements, involves a deliberate plan to deceive someone for financial gain. The perpetrator must have the specific intention to deceive and defraud the victim. The scheme, use of wire communication, like the television. The scheme must involve the use of electronic communication such as email, phone, calls, text messages, or internet-based systems, or the television. Interstate foreign communications. In most cases, wire communications must cross state lines or international borders. The television. We covered this before. Examples of wire fraud. Email scams, requesting money or transfers or bank information. Phishing schemes designed to steal sensitive information. Fake online stores or investment opportunities. Social media scams targeting individuals with fake profiles or offers. Also, like those phone calls you can get with, and they're trying to sell you health insurance. And I've been getting a lot of them lately. How did they get my number? Is that a violation of HIPAA? How they got my number? Interesting. So, wire fraud. See, I can do a reverse number search on them and get all the information I need to file an injunction against them. on those callers. Wire fraud is closely related to mail fraud, but the key distinction is the means of communication used. Mail fraud involves the postal system. Wire fraud uses electronic communication. But both are federal crimes, but mail fraud is regulated under the Postal Clause and wire fraud under the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, requiring interstate foreign communication for prosecution. Interstate or foreign communication for prosecution. The television. I'm going to stop there. That's about enough. That's because I'm going to... Well, we can get into what are the elements. Guess not. What are the elements? Wire fraud. Under 18 U.S.C., this is according to Mr. Google again, under 18 U.S.C. 1333, wire fraud, that's wire fraud law, requires prosecutors to prove a scheme to defraud using interstate wire communications. Specifically, the elements are, and this is what I have to prove if I sue Gray Media over wire fraud. Because of their employees' actions. Scheme to defraud, intent to defraud, use of interstate wire communications to further the scheme. The scheme must involve material misrepresentations or omissions, and it must be reasonably foreseeable that interstate wire communications would be used. And it goes into in depth. Scheme to defraud. This involves a plan or artifice to defraud, to deceive someone, but out of money or property. These lawsuits. Yeah, you good. No. The scheme must be more than just a simple lie. It needs to be a deliberate plan to trick someone into giving up something of value, money. Intent to defraud. The perpetrator must have knowingly and willingly participated in the scheme with specific intent to deceive and obtain something of value through fraudulent means. Obama. This means they must have had a mental state to commit fraud, according to legal websites. Intent to defraud. 3. Use of interstate wire communications. The money had to have been wired to the Obama Foundation, for example. Because that's where it is. That's where a lot of money is. It's in the Obama Foundation. According to my records from the Obama Foundation. It's a public record. Use of interstate wire communications. The scheme must utilize interstate or international wire communications such as phone calls, emails, or other electronic communication transmissions to further the fraudulent plan. It's not enough for the communication to simply be involved. They must be instrumental in carrying out the fraudulent scheme. So, phone records. You see, phone records. In essence, to prove that they were talking to each other. In essence, the government must prove that someone intentionally used electronic communication to trick another person out of something of value. And here we go. waiting for this website to come up. It's the Department of Justice website. Elements of wire fraud. Let's see what they have to say about it. 1. The defendant voluntarily and intentionally devised or participated in a scheme to defraud another out of money. 2. The defendant did so with intent to defraud. 3. That it was reasonably foreseeable that interstate wire communications would be used. And 4. That interstate wire communications were in fact used. That's from the Department of Justice. 941.118 USC 1343, Elements of Wire Fraud. Criminal Resource Manual. So, if you're watching Bundy, which I doubt it, but anyway, that's what that all says. So, what they're doing is illegal with those lawsuits, you see. It's wire fraud. Because I never gave them consent to sue. No, I did not. You see. And there go. That's fraud. They're trying to do it all over again. That's what I'm getting the gist of. And they keep trying to do it all over again. And I don't know why. Why they keep trying to do it all over again. Over and over and over. So they can keep getting more money out of you. And they're offering kickbacks to some people. Probably. Oh, cracked my knuckles again. Just cracking my knuckles. Nothing by it. I get arthritis. My knuckles get a little tight feeling. And anyway. And I guess it looks an awful lot like wire fraud to me with those lawsuits they're doing. What they say are lawsuits. Because they certainly coincide with my lawsuits and how they're getting dismissed in federal court. Because they say they've been settled, you see. When I have no idea what's going on that end. So, because they certainly aren't communicating with me, and they haven't paid me anything. No, they have not. So, there's that. They have not paid me a dime because they say I don't get nothing. So, that's why I say it's fraud. Because the only money I have is through my disability. That's it. With that, have a good day.